Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Lesson 4, Elements of Stories, Fiction. So you're probably thinking, how could there be any more literary elements of fiction terms? But there are. There's only a few, though. We have point of view, first person, second person, and third person. We also have author's purpose. So let's look at point of view first. This is the perspective a story is told in. And this can be whose eyes we are experiencing the story through, or whose opinion or side do we hear based on background and experiences that are shared. It can also be how the story is told in, such as first person, second person, or third person. So when we're talking about point of view, there's two parts to it. There is the perspective, which is who we're seeing the story through, whose eyes we're experiencing the story through. And the second part is which person it's told in. Is it first person, second person, or third person? So let's talk a little bit more about those. First person is the point of view where the narrator uses I, we, and us. You will also hear me, my. For example, I have a ton of homework. And this is typically how you write your narrative stories. This is not based on any background or previous experiences. It's just who's doing the talking. So it's you narrating the story. When we go to second person, this is the point of view where you, not as in you each listening to this, but you, Y-O-U, are in the story. And this is rare. So the character would be Y-O-U. The author uses you as the main character in the story. For example, you are in the new movie. And if we look at our example over here on the right, hey, you come here. You need to get to class or you will get in trouble. The character in this cartoon or conversation is you. Again, this is a rare perspective that we use, second person, and it's not based on any background or previous experience. It's just who is doing the talking. And then the other one that you will see frequently is third person. And the point of view in reporting and storytelling, and this is where the author uses he, she, it, they, them. This is very common in writing. And just as with first and second person, this is not based on any background or previous experience. It's just who is doing the talking. Now, let's look at author's purpose. So we looked at the author's perspective. Whose eye are we seeing the story through, and what person is it being told in? Now we can also look at why the author is writing something. So author's purpose is why the author writes, and there's a couple reasons. One is to persuade. They're trying to convince you to believe one thing or another. Another one is to inform you, where they're giving you factual information. News reports, research papers are all written with the purpose to inform you. Then we have to entertain. And this is where most or all of our fiction books will fall, comic strips, video games. They're written purely to entertain. They're not giving us factual information. They're not trying to persuade us to believe one thing or another. And the final way is to explain something. They're giving you step-by-step directions. It's kind of like informing you, but the difference between inform and explain is that in explain, you are getting the steps on how to do something. And the example that's given on the screen is step 1, step 2, step 3. You might see in an explanation purpose, you might see first you do this, then you do this, that kind of information. So again, we are writing for the purpose of to persuade, to inform, to entertain, or explain. And the perspective is whose eyes we're seeing the story through. And then the person can be first person, second person, or third person.